All right. In the previous video, we looked at constructors, and we briefly looked at constructors from the lens of building an object. And when we say we're building, we say we're constructing. And we said there are special methods that are used to construct or to create an object or an instance of a class. Now, let's go ahead to look at some notes about constructors. So what are the things to take note of when we're talking about constructors? What do we want to note about them? Now, one of the things about constructor is the purpose. The purpose of a constructor is basically to initialize an object when that object is created. So when you create an object, when you say new something, you need to initialize that object. And one way to initialize that object is by using constructors. The other thing is to note about constructors is the name. So constructors have the same name as the class. And you will see this as we go along. But in the previous video, in one of the videos, you see we have new house, and probably this one right here. We have this new house. The house here is a constructor. And so constructors have the same name as the class. Constructors do not have return types. They don't return any type, not even the void type. And that's something to take note of. When you use the new keyword to create an object, constructors are automatically called. So when we say new something, we're automatically calling constructors. We have default constructors with no parameters. That's if you don't define a constructor. And let me say that again. If you do not define any constructor at all, Java provides you a default constructor. The default constructor that Java provides you is called a no argument constructor. And it's just a constructor that has no parameters. Another thing we want to note about constructors is that you can overload them. By overloading, we mean that you can create multiple constructors, but with different parameter lists. And this is called constructor overloading. And we'll see how these things, I know that some of these things might look so new or even still something that you don't understand so well. But as we write the actual programs, I'll still be mentioning these things. And so if you want to remember what I said about these things sometime later, you can fall back on this video, come back and watch these videos. They will be very helpful. One other thing to talk about constructors is that you can have access modifiers. So you can have public, you can have private. And the reason for that is just to control how objects are created from these constructors. And there's a special use case where we have a private constructor that is used to prevent creation of objects from outside the class. So there are times we want to write a constructor, but we don't want that constructor to be accessible outside that class. Again, we just use these access modifiers. Remember one of the videos when we talked about the anatomy, we talked about these access modifiers. So when we use private, we're saying that we just want these to be accessible within the class. And one of those areas where we do this is singleton. And for now, I would say just take note of these things, and you don't need to bother yourself or stress yourself if you don't understand some of these things. When we write the code, you'll get to understand what it is we're talking about. And that's the essence of it. And this is constructors. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.